At the golden anniversary, my brother announced, we all agreed, Jake gets memories. I get the $1.9 million lake house. My mom clapped. I raised my glass. Congrats. I'll just take what's mine. The next morning, I collected every item I bought. Furniture, fixtures, flooring. Only one thing was left, the box. Inside. At my parents' golden anniversary dinner, the one I paid for, my brother raised his glass and said, loud enough for every guest to hear. We all agreed. Jake gets the memories. I get the $1.9 million lake house. My mom clapped. My dad smiled. My aunt added, fair is fair. Nobody looked at me. I didn't argue. Didn't ask who we all was. I just raised my glass, let the silence thicken, and said, congrats. I'll just take what's mine. Then I smiled. Quiet. Unbothered. Like someone who already made a decision. Because I had. I didn't come there to fight. I came out of habit, out of obligation, maybe even hope. I booked the venue. Covered the $4,300 catering. Paid the band up front because Dad said they couldn't swing it this month. Even bought the custom cake with their wedding date etched in gold. And still, I wasn't even mentioned in the speeches. Not as a son. Not as family. Just as infrastructure. I sat through the toasts, the jokes, the way they laughed when my brother said he never wanted the lake house anyway. No wife. No kids. What would he even do with it? They all laughed. Even Grandpa Joe looked away. I didn't. I took a bite of the overpriced filet, wiped my mouth, and said nothing. Because I'd already felt the shift. The mechanism kicking in. It wasn't rage. It wasn't even hurt. It was clarity, the cold, mechanical kind. The kind that clicks on after years of being tolerated, not seen. They didn't want me at the table. They wanted what I gave them. So I left early. Quietly. No scene. Just a smile, a nod to the waiter, and a note to my assistant. First thing tomorrow, itemize every asset I've funded in that house. They wouldn't see the fallout coming. Because in their eyes, I'd always be the reliable one, the fixer, the donor, the ghost. But that night, I stopped being invisible. And I started keeping receipts. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was upset. I'd already passed that stage years ago. I stayed up thinking, remembering. Not moments. Patterns. Because the lake house wasn't the first time they split the world between what I could give and what they could take. I remembered the time I covered my sister's $9,800 wedding reception, and when I asked why she didn't tell me, she laughed. You don't have a spouse or kids. Might as well make yourself useful. I remember driving 6 hours for Christmas, only to find out they gave my seat to the neighbor. She's alone this year, my mom said. You'll be fine in the kitchen. The kitchen. And when I left, quietly, without drama, my sister texted, wow, can't handle being overlooked. Huh. I remembered opening my banking app that night, freezing the mortgage assistance I'd been paying. The streaming accounts. The joint prime. Gone. I remembered the text they sent me at 9:04 p.m. that same night. The one that changed everything. We talked about it. You've always been a failure. You ruin every holiday, every get-together. We don't need you anymore. That was their idea of closure. No wonder the lake house felt like a final punchline. Because for them, I was never part of the family. I was just the funding. The emotional labor. The technician. The fallback. I paid for the landscaping that made their anniversary party possible. $12,400 and wasn't even invited. When I asked, my aunt said, oh, it's just immediate family. Hope you understand. When I canceled the payments, my dad texted, don't be dramatic. That was always the phrase, wasn't it? Don't be dramatic. As if years of quiet compliance could be rewritten as tantrums the second I stopped giving. I remember the time I canceled my sister's wedding, not because I wanted revenge, but because she spent my money like she was entitled to it. Like I didn't matter. They always acted like it was love. Like I was helping. But what they really meant was that I was useful. That I was silent. That I'd never say no. And I didn't for years. Because I wanted them to see me. I thought if I gave enough, fixed enough, paid enough, they'd finally see me as more than just the one who came back wrong. But all they ever saw was utility. I pay, they clap. I give, they divide it among themselves. I show up, they humiliate me for sport. Every family function, every dinner, every milestone, I funded the performance. The illusion. The perfect family with the broken son who didn't ask for much and gave even more. They never said thank you. Not once. They just assumed I would keep showing up. Keep transferring money. Keep pretending I didn't notice. But I noticed. I remembered how they looked the other way when I was injured. How my mom told friends, it's fine, really. He still has one good arm. As if that made me salvageable. I remembered my brother laughing, calling me RoboCop every Thanksgiving, like I was a party trick. I remembered my dad saying, we're not going to walk on eggshells just because you had a bad year. One bad year. That's what he called the decade I spent rebuilding my life. That's the pattern. They don't think I matter, but they need me. They want the gifts without the giver, the service without the person, the access without the acknowledgement. I used to think maybe they just didn't know how much I gave. But that wasn't it. They knew. They counted on it. That's why the lake house wasn't a surprise. It was just the final confirmation. And as I stared at the glass of whiskey in my hand that night, I made a decision. I wouldn't keep giving. Not my money. Not my silence. Not my name. I would take back everything. Because I wasn't the son who came home to make things better anymore. I was the son who came back to turn off the power. The morning after the lake house announcement, I didn't make a scene. I made a list. Room by room. Item by item. Not out of spite, out of inventory. Out of clarity. Everything I'd bought, installed, paid for, or maintained over the years, it was mine again. By 9 a.m., I was in the driveway. My brother opened the door in gym shorts and a protein shake. He didn't say a word. Just stood there like someone who realized the tide had gone out and all the buried garbage was starting to show. First, the obvious stuff. The smart lock? Mine. Uninstalled in 3 minutes. The surround system and 65-inch OLED I bought for Dad because he deserved a real cinematic experience? Gone. The central Wi-Fi mesh I installed last year when the internet kept dropping during my mom's Zoom calls? Disabled. The lighting control app. The kitchen smart faucet. The security camera cloud access. All gone. By noon, the house felt unfamiliar, not because I broke anything, but because I removed the infrastructure they didn't even realize I'd been maintaining. I wasn't malicious. I was precise. The thermostat lost its remote access. The fridge's touch panel went dumb. The backup generator monitor, offline. Then came the financials. I opened the mortgage account, removed my cosigner credentials, triggered a review. I knew the outcome, they wouldn't qualify a loan. Not after the refinancing I helped them secure 2 years ago. Then the phone plan, all 5 lines under my name. I transferred full ownership. If they didn't accept within 72 hours, the lines would go dead. I logged into the streaming services. Canceled each one. Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Amazon Prime. Even the shared password manager. Gone. Their Amazon delivery stopped. Their password autofill broke. Their living room TV showed only static. My brother finally said something around 2 p.m. This is crazy. I didn't answer. I just unplugged the router and walked out. Next stop, their business accounts. My parents' firm had relied on my company's infrastructure for over a decade. Cloud backups, secure emails, firewall management, software licensing, all under my enterprise platform. Never charged them a cent. I opened the portal, reclassified their profile to terminated. Clean, professional, final. Left them a message in the dashboard. This system was maintained at no cost for 11 years. As of today, it has been decommissioned. Thank you. They had no idea how much depended on me until everything stopped working. By 3:30 p.m., the clinic's front desk messaged me. We're completely locked out. Please help. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to a colleague, told him to charge full emergency rates. Then came the real cleanup. The lake house. I'd never wanted it, but I'd paid for half its repairs. New dock, water filtration, guest cabin upgrades. All from my accounts, because I was just helping. I pulled the invoices, highlighted every transaction. Then I called a lawyer. He didn't even blink. You want to reclaim or recoup, he asked. Both, I said. He started drafting a claim. Quietly, cleanly. No scandal. Just facts. Then I went back to the house. The final sweep. The dining table? $3,800. Mine. Reclaimed. The patio chairs? Bought on my card during a family emergency. Loaded into the truck. The espresso machine I gifted them 2 Christmases ago. The one my mom always said made her feel like someone finally appreciated her. Wrapped in towels, packed carefully. My brother tried to block the hallway at one point. You're not taking the flooring, man. I just smiled and kept walking because I had the receipts. Literally. By nightfall, the house felt hollow. Still intact, just empty of everything I had poured into it. Only one thing was left. The box. Old wooden. tucked in the back of the closet where they kept old photos and forgotten heirlooms. I opened it. Inside, cards I'd written over the years. Notes, hospital bracelets, a dried corsage from my sister's high school dance, a medal from when I still had two hands. On top, a folded drawing I made when I was 7. My family, it said. Stick figures, smiling. They'd kept it, even after everything. I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed the box, left it on the dining table, the only thing I didn't take. Because I didn't want memories. I wanted space. I drove home that night and slept like I hadn't in years. No calls, no texts, no guilt, just silence. And I finally understood. I hadn't destroyed the family. I'd simply removed myself from the machine that kept it running. They didn't call right away. Not the next morning. Not the day after that. The silence stretched into 4 full days. But it wasn't peace. It was pressure. Like a pipe swelling from the inside, waiting to burst. And then it did. Day 5, 8:17 a.m., I got the first group message. From my mom, dad, and brother. You're overreacting. This was a family decision. We thought you'd understand. This doesn't have to be permanent. Let's fix it. You're acting like a stranger. I didn't respond. An hour later, my mom sent a separate message. I'm ashamed that you're trying to punish us instead of talk. This isn't you. You're not a monster. That was the tone, not apology, not ownership. Just denial, panic, and projection. They weren't sorry. They were scared. Because for the first time in years, I'd removed the net. The fallback. The fixer. By lunchtime, my voicemail was full. My dad left 2 identical messages, back to back. Just call me. Don't do anything stupid. What they meant by stupid was permanent. They knew I wasn't bluffing anymore. By evening, it got worse. Aunt Renee posted a vague Facebook status. Some people will throw away blood over ego. Subtle. Not enough to name me, but everyone knew. Then came the real escalation, the smear campaign. It started with a message from my cousin Ellie. They're saying you're having a breakdown. Attached was a screenshot from the family group chat, the one I was no longer in. My brother had written, he's been acting differently lately. We need to give him space. He's not thinking clearly. Then my mother. This is what happens when you bottle things up for years. He was always so distant. They weren't just trying to win sympathy. They were rewriting history. I wasn't strategic. I was spiraling. I wasn't setting boundaries. I was dangerous. And yet, not a single person messaged to ask what actually happened. They just assumed the old story was still true, the quiet brother. The awkward one, the one they pitted. But I wasn't that person anymore. I was the storm they didn't see coming. That night, I got a call from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer. It was Melissa, my brother's girlfriend. Her voice was shaking. They're trying to bury you, she said. She'd overheard a conversation. My parents had a meeting, actual words she used, where they sat down and drafted a timeline. Trying to make it look like I'd been erratic for years. Trying to spin everything. The wedding cancellation, the streaming accounts, the business systems, all as signs of mental decline. Not strategy. Not calculation. Breakdown. Melissa said even the therapist they used once was being pulled in. My mom had called her, asking if she'd ever noticed signs. That was when I knew they weren't trying to win me back. They were trying to discredit me, to erase everything I'd done by painting me as unstable. The emails came next. 2 anonymous ones sent to my workplace. Vague accusations. Concerns about recent emotional changes. References to concerning behavior. I traced the IPs. One came from my parents' town library. The other from a residential ISP. I didn't need more than that. They were desperate. And desperate people stop hiding their hands. But I didn't respond. Not once. Not to the messages, the posts, the calls. I let the silence speak for me. Because I knew what came next, confrontation. And sure enough, Sunday afternoon, they showed up. My mom, my dad, my brother. Standing at my door like it was Thanksgiving, and they were dropping off a pie. They didn't ring the bell. Just stood there, 3 actors waiting for their cue. I let them stand for 2 full minutes, then opened the door. Didn't invite them in. Didn't smile. Just said, you have 5 minutes. My mom started crying instantly. Not from grief. From exposure. She wasn't sorry. She was cornered. She went into a monologue about family. About misunderstandings. About how badly this has spiraled. My dad followed with his line. You've always been intense. But this isn't you. My brother didn't speak. Just stood there, jaw tight. I waited. And then I said it. You're not here because you care. You're here because the power's off and you don't know how to live in the dark. Silence. Then I looked at my mom. You let them say I was crazy. Looked at my dad. You watched it happen. Looked at my brother. And you started it. That was when my brother broke. You're throwing your own family away for what? Pride. I almost laughed. No. I'm throwing you out for survival. They weren't used to this version of me. The one who didn't flinch. The one who didn't need their permission to be finished. My mom tried one last thing. We're your family. And I said it, clearly, finally. No. You were. Now you're just people I used to pay for. Then I closed the door. They didn't knock again. They didn't scream. They just stood there, broken, bewildered, realizing that the system they built around me had collapsed, and that they had no idea how to rebuild it without me. They didn't expect me to go public. That was their last illusion, that I'd stay quiet. That even if I pulled the funding, the systems, the support, I'd still protect their image. They thought I'd stay in the shadows. That my silence was loyalty. It wasn't. It was restraint. So I opened the vault. First, the post, a simple caption. For those asking why I went quiet, here's what silence was covering. Attached were screenshots. The group chat where my mom said he's always been unstable. My brother's message calling me a sunk cost. The canceled invoices I paid. The defamation email traced back to their network. I didn't add commentary. No hashtags. No anger. Just facts. Within an hour, the post had over 300 shares, friends, colleagues, even distant relatives. Then I uploaded the second file. The video. Footage from my own doorbell cam. My mom standing in my driveway. My dad behind her. Throwing bricks. Swinging branches. Screaming. The same people who said I was spiraling. The same people now screaming. We gave you everything. I blurred faces. Not because I had to, but because I wanted the focus to be on truth, not vengeance. Then came the final upload. A PDF. Titled, Receipts. It had bank records showing payments I made for their mortgage, streaming, weddings, tuition. Email confirmations with my signature authorizing home upgrades, travel, business systems. Legal filings proving I'd removed myself from their debts. No edits. No interpretation. Just reality. And then I closed my laptop. Didn't check for comments. Didn't wait for reactions. Because the truth wasn't for them. It was for the people they tried to lie to. By evening, my inbox was full. Old friends. Co-workers. A few cousins. One message stood out, from my cousin Ellie. You didn't destroy the family. You revealed it. Even better, one from my uncle's dental clinic assistant. So you were the one keeping it all running. We had no idea. They always said you were just the IT guy. We're sorry. That hit different. Because that's what the family narrative always was. I was the broken one, the helper, the sad one who needed purpose. And now, they knew I was the structure. And when I walked away, everything collapsed. No drama, no revenge, just balance. By the next day, my mom had deactivated her social media. My dad's email auto-replied. Out of office indefinitely. My brother went quiet online. Deleted old posts. Changed his profile to private. It wasn't shame. It was exposure. They couldn't spin it anymore. Not when the receipts were public. And that was the moment the balance shifted. They didn't just lose a son. They lost the story they told about him. They asked to meet. One last time. No group message. No pressure. Just a short email from my dad. If you've got 10 minutes, we'd like to see you. No drama. Just closure. It felt rehearsed. Calculated. Polished to sound reasonable. Like they'd finally hired someone to edit their apologies. I didn't reply. I showed up. Same house. Same driveway. Same front door I'd walked away from months ago. My brother wasn't there. It was just my parents. Waiting in the living room like this was some twisted version of a family counseling session. My mom stood up when she saw me, eyes already glassy. My dad didn't move. Thank you for coming, she said, like we were strangers doing a business deal. I didn't speak, just nodded once and sat across from them. The room was too clean, too staged. The fireplace flickered even though it was July. And the coffee table had 2 mugs set out, one labeled World's Best Son. My mom pushed it toward me like it was going to reset the board. I didn't touch it. My dad cleared his throat. Then he launched in. We've thought a lot about what happened and what we said, and we want to be clear. We didn't mean to make you feel unwanted. He said it like he was trying not to trip over a legal line. Like this wasn't a confession, just carefully worded damage control. My mom chimed in next. You've always been so strong. So capable. We didn't realize how much pressure you were under. They didn't realize. That was the theme of the day. Not we ignored you. Not we used you. Just oops. We didn't notice. I let them talk. I let them list off their regrets about how things looked, their sadness that the family was so fractured now. They talked about therapy, about rebuilding trust, about starting fresh. They used every phrase except the ones that mattered. We were wrong. We were cruel. We treated you like a service, not a son. Finally, my dad said, "We miss you." Then silence. Waiting. And I gave them what they didn't expect. I stood up, calm, collected, and I said, "You didn't miss me. You missed the infrastructure. You missed the funding. You missed the version of me that paid, stayed quiet, and let you believe this was love." My mom gasped. My dad blinked like someone had slapped him. I didn't stop. "You don't miss me. You miss what I gave. The free labor. The silent compliance. The automatic yes." I turned to my mom. "You let them lie about me. You let them say I was unstable. And when I stayed silent, you called it peace. It wasn't peace. It was me surviving you." Then to my dad, "You taught me loyalty meant obedience. That love was earned through sacrifice. But it wasn't love. It was utility." They tried to interrupt. I kept going. "You don't get to ask for grace after decades of casual cruelty. You don't get to pretend this was a misunderstanding. It was a transaction. And I finally canceled the subscription." My mom started to cry. Not quiet tears. Loud, heaving sobs like she was auditioning for absolution. I didn't move. She whispered, "But we're still your parents." And I said, "You were. And you spent that title like a credit card with no limit. Now it's maxed out. And you're the ones who defaulted." My dad stood up. He looked older than I remembered. Smaller. Like he'd been deflated. He said one thing, voice breaking. "So that's it? You're just done?" I looked him in the eye. "No. I was done the night you gave my seat away for hardwood discounts. This is just me turning off the lights." They didn't have anything left to say. And I didn't wait for a goodbye. I walked out. Past the framed pictures they never updated. Past the fireplace they kept lit for show. Past the fake mug that said "World's Best Son." I closed the door behind me. Didn't slam it. Just clicked it shut like a chapter ending. That night, I got one last message from my mom. "You'll regret this one day. Family is forever." And I replied with the only truth they never prepared for. "No. Family is earned." And you returned it broken. Then I blocked her number. Then I slept. No guilt. No noise. No weight on my chest. Because I didn't just say no to them. I said yes to myself for the first time in 20 years. And that, finally, was enough.